You do not exist until we choose to seek you. You do not exist until we choose to see you. And when we choose to seek you, and when we choose to see you, we find you everywhere. We see you everywhere. We hear you in the silence, everywhere. We feel your presence everywhere. We touch you everywhere. We breathe your being everywhere. We know you as love everywhere, in every situation, in every encounter, in every beat of our hearts. You are here, we are here. You are now, we are now. We dwell in your presence now and forever. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And so it is.
The human heart, my heart, this is the defining reality. To what do I attach it? I have this physical reality in my chest, providing the interior soil within which all my relationships are planted, stored, and nurtured. If I bind my most personal human heart primarily to my head, home for my thoughts and ego and self, I can easily become aloof, intellectual, abstract, and cynical. If I bind my most personal human heart primarily to my body and the environment of the earth, I can easily become lost in the external, the material, and the physical. If I bind my most personal human heart to myself, my feelings, emotions, and complex states of being, I am blinded by a tsunami of reactions, pleasurable and fearful, forever trapping me in sentimentality, romanticism, and a closed, human-centered system that cannot reach beyond a self-imposed prison. There is only one place I can attach the burden and ecstasy of this human heart, igniting all my relationships with the same light and love, managing the universe, the ultimate mystery of being itself. Here and only here is my freedom to be found. In this place, I claim my essential truth as a flow being. In this place, I discover the ultimate love.
Wait, this is way too much, too fast. I saw a great romantic comedy last night. These two people met in the checkout line at the supermarket. The cashier accidentally rang up part of her order on his bill, and she unknowingly took the stuff home. And for the next 2 hours, this charming love story unfolds. And, of course, in the end, they fall in love, get married, and live happily ever after. Now, this makes me happy, and makes more sense about love than whatever you're yammering about.
Hollywood may have had a little too much influence on your understanding of love. Let's consider this subject more deeply.
So it's the paradox of the oneness and the threeness, which is this wonderful sense of, I think you get that in human relations. I think the closest we get that is into relationships that are committed covenantal relations, where people in those relations say, I no longer live for myself, but for you. Now, let me just say this. For Christians, therefore, the love experience is what God is. We say God is love. But the word is agape. And we see the words, the covenantal words, and you see them paradigmatically in the marriage vow. for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. Basically what it means is the covenanting experience of love is, no matter what happens, I say yes to you. Yes. No matter what happens, my ego will no longer be of any interest to me subjectively, but becoming one with you in this communion of love, in this covenant, that's where my treasure lies. In dying, before I die, in the school of loving another. The contract, as I understand contract, is a legal binding mechanism by which conditions are met on both sides and expectations are satisfied. So you scratch mine, I scratch yours. We have contractual lawyers that read the fine print, because you don't sign a contract without knowing what you're signing, because you want to know the conditions by which you will give and which you will take. And if you sign a contract without knowing that, you're an idiot. On the other hand, this covenant that we get from the Judaic world, the covenanting of God in the Hebrew, the Jewish scriptures, and even the covenanting that we see then in Jesus, who takes that tradition and simply enriches it with his own understanding of it. Covenanting is something that you do, not knowing what you're doing when you do it, but you do it anyway because of love. Now, that's the key word, love. That I can covenant in a relationship. See, this is, I think, essential for Christianity. Because for Christianity, at least from the Roman Catholic perspective, no one is saved privately. We are not saved, we are not brought to the fullness of consciousness alone. It's a communal event. So therefore, there's no such thing as an individual Christian. That's an oxymoron. Contradiction in terms. It's always about relationality, because the divine is imaged as the relationality, the divine relationality, the Trinity. Therefore, all human consciousness evolves itself to this place where the network of love is a profound communion of saints, we say. I think that the practice of disidentifying has been the process, the journey of going through those practices like meditational practices, or through the ritual practices. Because this Eucharist that we do here, is to accelerate this kind of communion with Christ. A communion. But a communion, in the Roman Catholic theology, we can have a communion but never lose quite the separate identity in the communion. There's still always. But then there's these mystical traditions that even at Meister Eckhart, some of these mystics they border on saying, but the communion is so communing that there is no more I and you. You know, there's this, but it's the divine we, which is the Trinity. You know, it's this communion of the we, which is still, there's three, we say the mystery of the Trinity, there's, you can't say more than a sentence without becoming heretical, some writers have said. But the Trinity is this image of God, which is one God, but three distinct, unique persons in such a profound community that they are one. It's a communion of saints, we say. So a covenant you get into, not knowing what you get into when you're getting into it, but you get into it anyway, and then what are you? Still a fool. But a fool for love.
Let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, for God is love.
Take a look at the rose. Is it possible for the rose to say, I shall offer my fragrance to good people and withhold it from bad people? Or can you imagine a lamp that withholds its rays from a wicked person who seeks to walk in its light? It could only do that by ceasing to be a lamp. And observe how helplessly and indiscriminately a tree gives its shade to everyone, good and bad, young and old, high and low, to animals and humans and every living creature, even to the one who seeks to cut it down. So this is the first quality of love, its indiscriminate nature. That is why we are exhorted to be like God, who makes the sun to shine on good and bad alike, and makes rain to fall on saints and sinners alike. So you must be all goodness, as the living mystery is all goodness. Contemplate in astonishment the sheer goodness of the rose, the lamp, the tree, for there you have an image of what love is all about. And here's a second quality of love, its gratuitousness. Like the tree, the rose, the lamp, it gives and asks nothing in return. The third quality of love is unself-consciousness. Love so enjoys the loving that it is blissfully unaware of itself. The way the lamp is busy shining with no thought of whether it is benefiting others or not. The way a rose gives out its fragrance simply because there is nothing else it can do, whether there is someone to enjoy the fragrance or not. The way the tree offers its shade. The light, the fragrance, the shade are not produced at the approach of persons, and are not turned off when there is no one there. These things, like love, exist independently of persons. Love simply is. It has no object. They simply are, regardless of whether someone will benefit from them or not. So they have no consciousness of any merit or of doing good. The left hand has no consciousness of what the right hand does. The final quality of love is its freedom. The moment coercion or control or conflict enters, love dies. Think how the rose, the tree, the lamp leave you completely free. The tree will make no effort to drag you into its shade. The lamp will not force its light upon you. Think of all the coercion and control you submit to on the part of others when you so anxiously live up to their expectations in order to buy their love and approval, or because you fear you will lose them. Each time you submit to this control and this coercion, you destroy the capacity to love, which is your very nature, for you cannot but do to others what you allow others to do to you. The moment control and coercion drop, freedom will arise. And freedom is just another word for love.
My dad was a lover, an expressive, crazy engineer. And, he hugged me in such fullness, and so did my mom. I'm so lucky. So that parental love, I found very foundational. I know that both Phil and I have had that. We're very lucky, because I know that doesn't come to everybody. But then within that, I was anointed by an energy from beyond. And that energy was unconditional and it was neutral. It wasn't some mushy-gushy love. It was bizarre. It was like, it lit me up in a way, it gave me a point of contact for a love that like no other. And for 30 seconds, like an earthquake, I felt that love as unconditional. And that I was like looking from that point of view at everything unconditionally. I felt it in my body, what that love feels like, you know, from my experience. And it's unconditional and it's neutral. And what did that do? It evoked my love. It evoked a torrent of endless desire to respond to that. And you know, that little moment is what woke up this, well, what can I do? How can I serve? And that's what woke up the idea of trying to hold dance and religion together. I feel like Phil and I do share a kind of a template, a beat on a kind, this, whatever this love is that doesn't require anything back. I personally do, but that love doesn't, you know. So that kind of freedom, wow. If I, you know, maybe my life work is just to see if I could get anywhere in the neighborhood of igniting that for another person as a human being. You know, if I could just pass any of that on, that would be, you know, successful. And I know I have been in the neighborhood, you know. So it's a transmission, you know. Maybe that's what a good, you know, good teacher can do, is hopefully transmit some of the good that they're getting. They've been lucky to get.
Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. It is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrong, but rejoices in the right. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things.
Love is inclusive. Love is universal. Love melts boundaries. Love binds. The world needs more love. I need more love. I am at my best when I love. Whenever anything other than love becomes my ultimate focus, it is divisive. It separates. The only cause worth promoting is the love that binds together and delivers me to freedom. How do I discover this freedom within my own being? How do I love myself, others, and all of creation with this ultimate love? This journey of love continues.